Hello traders, good day to you all. My name is Christopher Glen and this is a daily market analysis for Plus Financial. We've received an announcement just right now regarding the pound. Late at night we had another announcement, a very important announcement, a GDP report regarding the Australian market. That was a good announcement. I was expecting the Australian dollar to gain strength, and it did once the announcement came out. Later on, we've received several announcements regarding the euro, a bit of weakness on behalf of Spanish PMI, a bit of strength regarding the Italian PMI, and we can say that the euro is in the equivalent point at the moment. Nothing too important, nothing really going on behalf of the euro. Not like several days ago when we had the announcement from the European Central Bank, when we saw that we've received a lot of weakness on behalf of the Australian dollar. Right now, it's pretty equivalent at the moment, the weakness and strength of the euro in the market. We will wait to see an additional information that will driven into the market. I do expect the euro to gain a bit more strength in front of the US dollar. Therefore, I expect the euro to gain strength generally in the market. But we will need to wait and see whether that will come from the announcement regarding the US dollar later on, the non-farm employment change. So we've received an announcement just right now regarding the pound that wasn't indicating anything. We saw the market bouncing higher, bouncing lower, but nothing really important came out of this announcement. I can tell you already that the market it just climbed higher and lower. I took several trades in front of the pound regarding the Australian dollar already from yesterday, and I made a bit of profit using the strength of the Australian dollar generally in the market. At the moment, the pound, again, it's not really expressing any weakness or strength. I was expecting to see weakness on behalf of this announcement, but we will just need to wait and see whether the structure that we will receive is a corrective pattern of an ABC structure. Later on, we're expecting to see several more announcements regarding the euro. Nothing really important. After that, we've got a very important announcement at 1:15 p.m. GMT. We've got an announcement regarding the US dollar, red announcement, and ADP non-farm employment change. Over here again, I'm expecting the dollar. I'll show you that in a second. I'm expecting the dollar on one hand to express a bit of strength in front of some currencies in the market, while I'm expecting it to lose some strength in front of other currencies in the market. You know what, I'll tell you just right now, my expectation is that the dollar will gain strength in front of the Canadian dollar, but in the same note, I'm expecting the dollar to lose some strength in front of the euro. I'm expecting the gold to drop down, and we've reached a very, very important areas where the dollar should express a solid expression in front of a variety of assets, and we will see that when we'll analyze charts in a second. Later on, 3 p.m. GMT, we've got an announcement regarding the Canadian dollar, several announcements, and at the same time, we've got an announcement regarding the US dollar. That's a great combination between two assets. Strong, or let's say good announcement on the Canadian dollar and bad announcement on the US dollar, or vice versa, will deliver the better probability in the market. On the other hand, if both currencies, Canadian dollar and US dollar, both of them will receive good or bad announcements, then obviously we can express them in front of other currencies which are stronger or weaker. We will see that in a second on the charts. And that will be for today. Again, we've got several more announcements regarding the US market. Crude oil inventory is always affecting the relationship between the Canadian dollar and the US dollar because of the merchandise relationship that we've got over there. But still, I'm not expecting to see a lot of liquidity driven from these announcements. Basically, that is the time frame that I'm waiting for to find good potential trades, long-term investment trades, again long-term for the next several days, not weeks, and that will be a good choice, a good divergence that I'm expecting to see on the charts. What I'm going to do today when I'm opening the charts, I'm going to go over the idea of the Canadian dollar. My perspective is that the Canadian dollar should turn towards a specific direction for long-term movements. Therefore, I'd like to really test, go deeper into the condition of the Canadian dollar. Every day I will choose other asset that I find suitable for that specific day, and I'll go over that during every market analysis. In this case, I'd like to begin with the Canadian dollar. Let's begin with the dollar versus the Canadian dollar. What I'm doing right now, I'm going to a daily chart, looking at the larger structure. As I said, and for those of you who are familiar with the elite wave analysis, it'll be easier for you to understand exactly what I'm talking about. We've received a 5-wave movement over here, an impulse movement, no question about that. After that, we've received an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave dropping down. Very nice formation of a corrective pattern. From this point and beyond, I'm expecting to see the 5th wave of an uptrend movement. This one over here was the 3rd wave of an uptrend. A 4th wave dropping down to the last 4th wave. Very nice indication of the elite wave analysis, and therefore I'm expecting to see a continuance of an uptrend. We've received the 1st wave up from the large cycle's 5th wave. Right now we're forming the 2nd wave downtrend. 3rd wave will climb higher. 4th wave will fall down, and then I'm expecting to see another uptrend. Generally, I pull this line a bit higher than was expected. My target for the dollar versus the Canadian dollar. Just 1 second. My target for the dollar versus the Canadian dollar will be approximately 1.32, approximately here. That's where I'm expecting this wave to complete its structure. Logical target for the dollar versus the Canadian dollar. So we can say that generally my expectation is that the dollar should gain strength in front of the Canadian dollar, just as I said several minutes ago. I'm invested in that position, and I'm expecting to gain more strength out of this movement, something like 200 pips of an uptrend movement. Let's go to a low time frame, 4 hours. We can see very nicely that indeed the uptrend movement formed an impulse movement. Then we've received an A, a B, and a C pattern, completing a structure of a corrective pattern. Over here, my assumption is that we've completed the 2nd wave of number 5 large cycle, and right now we've received the 1, and we're forming a 2 before a very strong 3 that will climb over here. Now, if you'd like to be a bit more careful with your investments, I do expect that you'll place a trend line above this corrective pattern. We know that traders will follow a continuance of an uptrend once the market will break the larger cycle's trend line. Therefore, a break of this line will pull more investment toward a stronger dollar in front of the Canadian dollar. Therefore, a cross and a close beyond the trend line will indicate a continuance of an uptrend, the potential for a continuance of the 3rd wave, which is the largest wave in the elite wave cycle. So over here, I'm expecting to see a bit more uptrend, breaking and crossing this trend line. It's a good trade because once we'll break it, then we'll have a very nice potential, and that's not the only case. The second issue is that a stop loss will be under this area over here. So if we will place a stop loss over here at the bottom at 1.1, then we're basically protecting ourselves from very long and difficult loss on this specific chart. I'm not saying that it's a 100% trade, but that's a very nice probability of an uptrend movement, a very strong liquidized movement. So to complete the analysis regarding the dollar in front of the Canadian dollar, again, my assumption is that the dollar will gain strength in front of the Canadian dollar, and that will happen. Again, my assumption is that we will see that already from the announcements over here regarding the Canadian dollar, both Canadian dollar and US dollar at 3 p.m. GMT out of these out of the variety of announcements over here. Beside that, let's go and analyze other charts. So remember, at the moment, the potential is stronger dollar in front of a weaker Canadian dollar. Let's look at the euro versus the Canadian dollar. Again, the daily chart is showing approximately the same perspective. as we already formed a very long uptrend movement, strong euro in front of the Canadian dollar. The last movement that we've received over here, let's look at a 4-hour chart. I will show you the 5 waves that we've received, is a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. So we've basically completed an impulse movement of an uptrend potential. Right now we've received a corrective A B is forming, should climb up a bit higher, and then a C should fall down till this rate over here. Over here I'm expecting to see a divergence and a continuance of an uptrend. So that will be a very nice potential on the euro versus the Canadian dollar, just that the potential at the moment in terms of the entry point is not close as the dollar versus the Canadian dollar. Therefore, my analysis regarding the euro versus the Canadian dollar is showing that at the moment we will see a bit of weakness on behalf of the euro, while we're expecting to see general weakness on behalf of the Canadian dollar that will pull this chart higher. But at the moment, a weaker euro is expected on this chart. Eventually, at the end, I'd like to open a sketch and to fix the currencies. First of all, the US dollar is expected to be a stronger currency. I can tell you that the euro is approximately in the middle, expecting a bit more strength or weakness on behalf of the euro along the structure itself, but the Canadian dollar is somewhere over here. So after I'll complete the scale, then we'll go over the potential regarding the announcements themselves. Pound versus the Canadian dollar. Again, I'm going to a long-term daily market analysis. Over here, again, we've received a very long-term weakness on behalf of the Canadian dollar. Looking at the larger cycle, we can see that generally we're forming a corrective pattern over here. All this structure over here is a corrective pattern. It's correcting this long, strong, liquidized downtrend movement. Over here, the Canadian dollar expressed an enormous amount of strength in front of the pound, talking about between 2006 and until the June 2009. We can see that indeed the pound lost a lot of strength in front of the Canadian dollar. We know, according to the elite wave analysis, that this is wave 3, and right now we're forming the 4th wave, an A, a B, and a C pattern of the 4th wave. And we know that according to the elite wave analysis, the 4th wave cannot penetrate the structure of the 1st wave, which is over here. So that will be the highest rate that I'm expecting this chart to climb to. If we'll go to the inner structure of this specific pattern, let's first add the Fibonacci numbers on this scale. Again, because I'm looking at the corrective pattern of 4th wave, it's correcting the 3rd wave. Therefore, I will add a 3rd wave mark. There we go. And okay. So a good target for a continuance of an uptrend, again, it's a weekly chart, it's a very long-term analysis regarding this chart specifically. So we said that we can't really penetrate this area and beyond. My assumption is that we will get approximately toward the 50% of a pullback of a corrective pattern, and that will complete this uptrend movement. So we've got something like 500, a bit more than 500 pips of an uptrend movement, 5% of difference. Let's go to daily chart. On a daily chart, we can see very nicely that we've received the 1st wave over here, a 2nd wave of corrective pattern. Right now we're forming the 3rd wave, which is a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4 is expected to drop down, and a 5th climb up till the rate that I've mentioned before. This is only the 3rd wave of uptrend. Then we will receive the 5th wave of an uptrend that will complete this entire C wave structure. So at the moment, I do expect the pound to lose strength in front of the Canadian dollar on a daily chart. Let's look at the 4-hour chart. We still have a bit more uptrend to complete over here, but not as long as the dollar or the euro. Therefore, I will place the pound above the Canadian dollar, and at the moment it seems like the pound itself should gain a bit more strength in front of the Canadian dollar. In order for me to find the relationships between the dollar and the pound, I need to analyze that chart to see who's expected to gain more strength. I can tell you that my assumption is that at the moment the pound should gain a bit more strength in front of the dollar, but for the long term I'm expecting the dollar to gain way more strength than the pound. Long term I'm talking about days and weeks, not hours and the current week. So the current week I'm expecting the pound to be approximately equivalent, even a bit higher than the US dollar. Australian dollar versus the Canadian dollar. We can see that the chart of the Australian dollar versus the Canadian dollar is a totally different chart. Again, we've received a very nice impulse movement over here, downtrend strong liquidized movement, and right now we're forming an A pattern, a B pattern, and a C pattern. Now I can tell you that I'm a bit confused from this structure, because on one hand it's very logical that we will complete the structure over here and we'll begin the downtrend movement, a very long-term downtrend movement on the Australian dollar in front of the Canadian dollar, meaning a stronger Canadian dollar than the Australian dollar. So generally I'm expecting the Australian dollar to lose some strength in the market, and I'm saying that because we can see that we had a first impulse wave dropping down from this point. Then we've received an A pattern, a B pattern, and a C pattern. Right now we're forming the third wave. We formed the third wave already. From this point and beyond, we've received an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave. Just that the thing is that the C wave should not penetrate the structure of the first impulse downtrend wave. Therefore, we can look at two kinds of structures over here. That might be the A wave, then we've received a B wave, and that is the C wave. Right now we can see an 1 and 2 and 3 structures that will form an X pattern before a continuance of a downtrend. So at the moment, even if this structure is not a regular 1, 2, 3, but A, B, C, X, an expected ABC downtrend movement, still my assumption is that for the closer time frame, the next week or two, the Canadian dollar is expected to lose strength in front of the Australian dollar. Sorry, vice versa. The Australian dollar is expected to gain strength in front of the Canadian dollar. Therefore, I'm expecting to see a bit more uptrend on this chart. A bit more uptrend, approximately 100, 200 pips of an uptrend on this chart. Therefore, I'm still placing the Australian dollar above the Canadian dollar. So what we've received over here is a very interesting chart. We've placed the Canadian dollar as our motive, as our target, as our equivalent point. And we've analyzed charts in front of the Canadian dollar, came to conclusion that the pound, the US dollar, and the Australian dollar should gain strength in front of the Canadian dollar, and the euro should lose strength in front of the Canadian dollar. Therefore, any expression of the euro in front of the US dollar, the pound, or the Australian dollar, for a stronger pound, dollar, or Australian dollar in front of the euro will be the better probability according to this analysis. In our next session, we will analyze other charts and we will learn how to use the idea of correlation And the idea of analysis, in order for us to choose the better probability in the market, at the moment you can see that we've received several good trades, euro versus the Australian dollar, euro versus the US dollar, or euro versus the pound for a put, for a downtrend movement, for a short position. All of them, again, use your strategy when you got an indication for that. Just join potential movements on these assets. From here, from Plus Financial, I wish you all the best with your trades. Have a pleasant day, and bye bye.